Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's two things that you really need in life if you want to move your life forward. You want to feel that you are fulfilled and even succeed. Those two words are courage and compassion. And we hear those words, right away we conjure up a feeling, a thought, an image, probably not exactly what you're thinking. It goes broader than what we would normally think with those two words, courage and compassion. We're going to look at that today through the lens of somebody that helps people all the time through intuition, coaching. She's also a clinical hypnotherapist, speaker, author, corporate trainer. So great to have her back here. Nadiya Manji is with us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Steve?
I'm well. I'm well. And before we jumped into this, I shared that these two words have come up for me in the last day. People have said them. It's been, I don't know why. It's coming up in my world, but they're two words that you both need, I feel, in life. You need courage for a number of different things. You need compassion, obviously. So can we break them down? What they mean to you, what they could mean broadly for everybody?
Thank you, Steve. This is something that resonates the most with me. It's about courage and compassion. When we talk about either internal alignment, emotional intelligence, or dealing with decluttering our emotions, courage comes up all the time with my clients. Because
Mm,
this is the space when you face you, you are really facing yourself. That's the true courage. Facing your story, embracing your story, accepting your story, your trauma, your pain, your challenges. Because what happens in this digital world when we look at other people's lives, when we see how everyone's doing, when we start our day with Instagram or Facebook, everyone comes with that energy of success, mindset, unconscious mind programming, everything. It's just too much. But to do all that work, somebody in the corner or in the car watching and saying, how the hell do I do this? What do I do about it? Like I watch it, it's good stuff. How do I do it? The first step is courage. When you talk about confidence in life, confidence C of confidence is courage. You have courage to stand up, to face. Confidence is not learned, it's inbuilt. And that inbuilt energy comes from the true wildness from you. That is the courage. Courage to be you, who you are. And then having the compassion to that story and the narrative and the programming that you had. So that's how I see it, that in as a coach, as a life transformation life coach or a hypnotherapist or an energy healer, I always say that thank you for having the courage to do the work. Thank you for showing up. Because the first step is the courage. And then transforming into the compassion that you need for this journey. Because we all are stuck, we all have
mm,
challenges, we all have issues. Life is not going to be without it. Whether it's fear, whether it's anxiety, whether it's problems, it's inevitable. But how you manage, respond, and handle is a choice. So courage gives you the opportunity to have the choice. Compassion gives you the opportunity to embrace the choices you're making. So that's how I see it. And I'm sure there are audiences out there or people out there, they see it differently. You could connect courage to the adrenaline rush. You can have the adrenaline rush and jump into something and say, hey, I had the courage to do it. But to speak up, the real essence of communication requires courage, how to present it, how to execute it. So courage is everywhere, like in every aspect of your life. If you can implement courage to your capacity, it doesn't have to be that everybody's similar, to your capacity, even if you expand, it's kind of like an expansion. When you get the courage, you feel like expanded, that, oh, I had the courage. It's like your chest is opening energetically, your heart chakra is opening to do that. And once the courage enters in, the compassion comes in. So that's how I look at it, if that makes sense.
So I want to go to what you just said. If you have courage, does the compassion invariably follow?
What should I say about that? What would you like to know?
So let's say, do you think you might be lacking maybe compassion, but now you've got the courage to do something. Does the compassion follow along with that? You might not even notice it, but it's there because you had
Mm.
the courage to do something. I guess maybe if you had the courage to do something with your life, jump out of a plane, whatever it is, maybe you had the compassion to care about yourself, to push yourself forward. I hope that makes sense.
I think you're leading more towards self-love. And that's a topic that people don't embrace really beautifully in the 20 years of my career I've seen. That people don't even know what self-love means. What is the self protocol? There's an exercise I do in my coaching called self protocol. And I take you through different steps of yourself
Sure.
where you literally understand what self-love truly means. So compassion is connected to self-love. And courage is a foundation of that. Because once you have the courage to face that I have an issue or I'm going through something, I need the courage to go to someone and talk about it. Because sometimes the external world puts a lot of pressure, which unknowingly makes you very hard on yourself. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I should have gotten this right. This is not the way world works. I'm so crazy. I didn't understand that. But actually, the compassion comes when you have the courage to say that I do have a problem and I'm going to love myself enough to find the solution.
Hmm.
That's how I connect the compassion. Because it's a process of forgiveness, process of embracement, embracing yourself, embracing your life, process of acceptance. Because forgiveness doesn't happen just like that. It's a three-step forgiveness that I coach my clients, and I'm happily sharing on this podcast. Usually I don't, but today I feel like that it's important that somebody somewhere is listening, that compassion will come when you understand the true essence of forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't happen, oh, you forgive them, forgive that. They didn't know what they did. They didn't know better. This is very usual statement these days. But ask that person who is going through that. Ask this person who was put through that trauma. In his world, forgiveness will come as you giving a passport to the person or a stamp to the person to get away with what they did. But it doesn't condemn, right? What really means is that you first acknowledge what's bothering you, whether it's rage, whether it's resentment, whether it's anger, any emotion. You acknowledge that I'm feeling this due to this. That's the first step. Second most important step is acceptance. It happened to me. Can I do anything about it? Once you go into acceptance, then you are ready to let go. And then the real compassion comes in that I love myself enough to let go. It's not going to wake up one day and
Hmm.
say, forgive that. So that's the compassion. Now, what required courage to first acknowledge, then the courage to accept, and then the courage to let go. So I can wrap it up like this, that courage and compassion is extremely important. Whether to let go of something or whether to go after something, you require these two elements.
Game changer.
Yes.
You just said something I believe is so pinnacle in forgiveness. And that is, do I love myself enough to let it go? That's big. And that, no, I've never heard that before. And I've done many, many, many podcasts on forgiveness. I've done hypnotherapy on forgiveness, for forgiveness. But what you just said, because many of us can't let it go, and somebody did you wrong. And it's just, and we all have those things going on in our lives. Maybe you have to forgive yourself, but you can take the steps. You can get close to where you feel that you've forgiven, but somehow you haven't fully forgiven and you can't figure out why.
Because you're seeking justice.
Yes, 100%. But I believe the other part is you have to love yourself. Who loves themselves? Many of us don't, or
Yeah.
to the degree that we should. And we always hear you have to love yourself first before you love anybody else and all of that. But you have to love yourself enough to let go. And if you don't love yourself enough, you're probably not going to be able to let go. So I
And you
think that's
need
huge.
courage. Yeah, that's
And
where
then
you
this
need
courage.
courage. Courage, and that leads to compassion. That answers your question, how you asked me.
Yeah,
Does it lead to compassion? It can only lead to compassion. It's a transition. It's a transition because massive things in life. I've worked with so many people from age, race, color, whatever you say. But when we reach the forgiveness part of forgiving yourself enough or forgiving others, courage is not there. I'm not courageous enough to let go because it served you.
yeah.
Your unconscious mind is holding it as a protection because it served you. And the true courage to really accept the trauma, to really embracing it with the coach or on your own if you're capable, but with a coach, that requires courage. People who come to do the work with me, I really congratulate them that you had the courage to come to me. You have
Absolutely.
the courage to come and do the work with me. And then it leads to compassion and self awareness. Self awareness is a form of compassion. And now
So
I'm aware enough to let go, or I'm aware enough to do the work. It brings in accountability, it brings in responsibility towards you, not to anybody else. That is the true essence of courage and compassion.
So you used a word before, and I want to focus on this for just a moment. And I know we're talking about courage and compassion, but then forgiveness got woven in there. And many times we're in situations where we're faced with forgiving somebody because anger is involved. And I've had this debate with friends, and I really want to hear your take on this.
Mm-hmm.
Anger, said to be an emotion, but it's also said to be something else. Like you're angry because you're really sad. You're angry because of another reason. So my question is, can anger ever be just anger, or it's always connected with something else? Well, we have, put that to the side. Sadness. Sadness is sadness. Joy. Joy is joy. Is anger just anger, or it's always fueled by another emotion? What do you think?
I think your answer lies in the question. You just said that is it fueled by something? You just said it fueled because it's a fire energy. The fire energy, the bubbling energy, which wants to get something right. It's a battle of paradigm shift of right and wrong. When something is wrong, the right gets up. When something is bad, the good gets up, right? So it's a paradigm. The three major emotions, the primary emotions that we deal with is anger, sadness, and fear. People are stuck with anger, they're sad, or they're fear, afraid of the future. If you are sad and stuck in the past, you're depressed. If you're constantly worried about the fear, you're anxious. People know that.
Sure.
So anger is the projection. It's the reaction of the emotion that you're feeling. Anger is nothing without that reaction, what you're feeling. So coming to back to that anger, anger and courage, rare, the roar of the lion, the rage. Courage has the rage, courage has the anger, but the courage is the redirecting the rage or redirecting the anger to the release or to turn it into a different energy. Usually, if I work with my clients, they say when they come angry and in the end they say, I feel free. I'm
Mm,
free. So freedom is what you're seeking from that anger.
yes.
The anger is projected from feeling hopeless, helpless, worthless. Then there are multiple chain of emotion. But three primary emotions, anger, sadness, and fear. If you can regulate that, if you have the courage and the compassion to regulate these three stages of your emotional world, then you live the true life and you be the person of courage to be you. That's what is my program. That you really, really have the courage to face everything, every piece of you from the time you were born. I have the courage to really look at my life story and how I can change the narrative. Take the best and let go of the rest. That doesn't serve me. And the more you do that, the more and the more you're going to be successful and happy. Because happiness is not outside. Because we have this notion that if I get rid of my anger, if I can get rid of the sadness, or if I can overcome this fear, I'll be happy. But do you really have the courage to overcome that? That requires the true courage. True essence of courage is facing things.
Mm,
Forgiveness requires courage. Goals require
yes.
courage. Discipline requires courage, because everything demands sacrifice to let go of something, right? Letting go is attached. You want to achieve your goals, you're going to let go of something to achieve your goal. Let go of your parties, let go of your things that you're doing that are important. You have to, it's a universal law, give and take, right? Inhale, exhale is a universal law. So compassion is the primary emotion to heal. Without compassion, healing is impossible.
I'm seeing the word courage is everything now.
Yes.
It really is. And I didn't see it that way before we
Yes.
spoke. And the other part is we always say, I have the courage to, but it's also, I had the courage not to. I don't believe we look at it that way. Let's say you have bad habits. I had the courage not to do that. It's always propelling you to the two. I want to go to another word, starts with a C. You mentioned it before. Confidence. I wrote it down. I even circled the word because I wanted to get back to it. Many of us say, or we know, we think that we don't have the confidence to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
How do we gain that confidence, or is that directly correlated to courage?
It is, because I told you the C of the confidence is the courage. That is the foundation to accept who you are. It goes back to my story, as that being an intuitive child, the rejection and abandonment was massive, because not fitting in the society, because you're looking life, things, people from a different lens. And just to have that courage to embrace that gift, that I am gifted and my goal is there and there are people out there that they need help, brought me till here.
Hmm. Well, okay. Wait, don't mean to cut you off. That was the compassion. That was
That
your
is where
compassion.
the compassion that I want to help. So they go hand in hand. You have the courage, your purpose will become more defined. My purpose became more defined when I had the courage and compassion to help people. Courage to show who I am, and compassion to give. Compassion to release. And then I can receive back the love I received, the respect I received. People from addiction, when they decide, and I'm really, really emphasizing people who are listening to this podcast, if their family, anyone is going through addiction and they're planning to change that or let go of that, please, please, please have compassion.
Hmm.
Because what they're letting go requires courage. And they have no compassion for themselves because they are stuck with the guilt, shame, unforgiveness for themselves that they have let go of their lives. But if you can really connect to your compassion, you are able and capable of giving it back to them. As a family member or a friend or a partner, you're required to have compassion so that they can heal. And I said it earlier, healing without compassion doesn't happen. And the
Hmm.
courage, without courage, compassion doesn't appear, because first you have to take the step of courage. Coming back to confidence, that confidence and courage, confidence is just a word. Means that I am a confident person. Just to say it, people don't believe it because they're lacking these two words, courage and compassion. Once you have the courage to do, once you have the courage to not be bothered, once you have the courage to go ahead and not worry about mistakes, you are already compassionate towards yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed. And that compassion radiates in terms of healing to the other person. It's very contagious. Trust me, it's very, very, very contagious.
I, Nadia, I'm looking at this in such a different way in the last few minutes that we started talking about this. And the words get thrown around, courage, compassion. You have the courage to do this. But I never looked at them at the way we're looking and how interchangeable they are. And the one takeaway, major takeaway here is courage is everything. And a lot of times, courage for many, it's a scary word. It's a scary word. Courage to jump out of a plane, skydive, which, by the way, is on my bucket list for this summer. I'm not even kidding. Funny you should say that earlier. Um, I'm trying to get the courage to do it. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to do it with my son because he's old enough now. Um, and one moment I'm like, yeah, no problem. Next minute I'm like, what if this and what if that? Of course, that's fear that's coming in. I'm not afraid of the chute not opening. It's more of like we spin around and I'll hurl like projectile when I get to the ground, whatever it might be. But that's the fear, those thoughts coming in. But having the courage, I'm giving one example, the courage to overcome that. But courage seems to be in everything that we do. If you think of the word courage in most of your day, it's gonna show up. And I never thought of it in that way. I only
Yeah.
thought it was for those moments, jumping out of a plane, going into your boss and asking for a raise, that kind of stuff. But it's there. It's kind of the thread that goes through everything. Yeah, it really is. And I never saw it that way.
Mm.
How does somebody connect with you? I know you have all different programs. You have so much insight, so many different modalities too. I mean, hypnotherapy, even if you put that over to the side, the coaching aspect of you would be fine. Then you had that. You had all this
Yeah, just
going
the
on.
coaching piece. The coaching piece is about really tapping into you. When
Yeah.
you come to me as my client, I am passionate, compassionate about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to discover on this journey working with me to really evolve? Because recently I've had people who had been wanting to take their lives away. They have not had their focus and they've done counseling for years and years. And I have all the respect for that work, extreme high respect for the work, just to listening. But release, processing, done in this space of transformational coaching, just added the value to the work they had done.
Sure. Sure. And there are many hypnotherapists out there, but they're not coaches. So when you put that blend together, you have the aha moment in the hypnotherapy session. Now what do you do?
Mhm.
Now you blend it over to the coaching. How do we find you? How do we connect? I know that I think you do a discovery call with somebody to kind of
Yeah.
see
The
if it's a
clarity
right fit.
call, you can go to my website, book a clarity call. You can go to Instagram and find my links and look the work I'm doing. Nadiya Manji official is my page. And it would be nice to see you there, Steve, as well, to see how much information I put there. I'm inviting you to my Instagram page and inviting my audience to see the work I put out there, and so much of information there that you can learn even if you don't want to have a session with me. That page is full of information for you to evolve. And you can book a clarity call through my website. NadiyaManji.com is my website. And you can just click there, go book a clarity call, and connect with me.
And just so everybody has it clear, it's NadiyaManji.com. Am I correct?
Yes,
Awesome.
you're right.
Yeah. I'm going to be thinking all day today about the courage thing. I'm not even, I'm being completely serious with you and how courage comes into play, but we also need to give ourselves compassion for that courage, no matter what it is, even if it's picking up the phone and making a call that you're a little uncomfortable with, not a major, but it's just, I'm going to do it. It's courage.
Hmm.
You get,
Just remember self-love. Do I love myself enough to get this? Do
well,
I love myself enough to let go of that? So that's the
there's the game
statement for you.
changer.
Just ask yourself, do I love myself enough? Because we've heard about I'm not enough, or I'm not enough good enough. Like, those words are very common, but I think the new word is that am I
Yeah.
worthy enough? Do I love myself enough to get that? Do I love myself enough to let this go? So
Yeah.
that is the game changer. That is my happy moment too. I have used it multiple times. I use it with my clients, and anywhere, whoever is listening, my compassion is there for them. Reach out. Don't delay. Don't delay. Reach out to help. There's so much help available. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
me. It can be anyone. But my compassion and my passion is to heal, is to help people really be happy, the families to be happy, their lives to be happy, that they can really truly live the life that they were deserved, they meant to live.
Thank you so much for today. Appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.